ISD Board of Trustees for this date, June the 27th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Let the record show that there is a quorum of board members present. Myself, Dr. Joel Odom, Mrs. Lina Martinez, Ms. Mona Reed, Mr. Stephen Shadrock, and Mr. Marshall Fleer. Furthermore, let the record show that this meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Ms. Martinez will now lead us in prayer, so let's stand together, and we'll be followed by Ms. Reed leading the pledges.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your blessing, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide us in the matters at hand and help us engage in meaningful discussion. Give us the insight and understanding needed to make the best decisions concerning the welfare of our students, faculty, and staff, and to nurture the bonds with our community. May we invest ourselves in our work and remember that it is you who is working through us. In your name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Now I will recite our FISD vision and mission statement for us. The FISD vision statement is preparing you for a prosperous life, character, knowledge, competence. Our mission statement is FISD is committed to developing 21st century graduates who are lifelong learners that are purposeful, innovative, collaborative, and possess character traits that lead to success. Mr. Fleer now will recite our FISD goals.
The FISD goals are: each student will maximize their potential. Each student will be a lifelong learner prepared for their future. Each student will be a contributing member to the global society. FISD will strive to build strong relationships with stakeholders. FISD will exercise fiscal responsibility.
Now we'll do a round robin of the board reciting of the FISD core beliefs. Our FISD core beliefs are: we believe that each individual is unique.
We believe character values are the building blocks of a prosperous life.
We believe in a strong work ethic.
We believe mutual respect is the foundation for a safe and nurturing environment.
We believe that helping one another strengthens our community.
We believe education is a shared responsibility throughout the community.
We believe effective communication is vital to success.
We believe that lifelong learning cultivates the personal growth.
We believe that everyone deserves access to a quality education.
We believe that in failure there is opportunity for growth.
Now I will share with you the overview of good governance and code of ethics. Each month we highlight one of our good governance indicators and code of ethics that the FISD Board of Trustees follow to promote the best interest of the district as a whole. This month, for the Code of Ethics, we are highlighting student-centered focus. I will be continuously guided by what is best for all students of the district. Our good governance indicator for this month is the board has a plan in place to actively strengthen community partnerships to improve overall performance and stewardship of public resources. Ms. Petrie, do we have any public comments? The board always encourages comments about the district from members of the public, and anyone, of course, who has signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with the board procedures may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to district business and be no longer than 2 minutes. So Greg and Charlotte Goodweiler?
Yes.
You may. Yes, right. Yes, right.
Yes. I really like to meet more people here. We've lived here for 22 years and have never been to a board meeting. And it was just posted out there that there was a meeting and they were discussing the fact about a rollback on our taxes. So, you know, a concern for us as community members is the fact that our taxes are increasing drastically. And so we're just here as taxpayers to Floresville ISD to make sure that, you know, we get the best tax rate for our money. They discussed something about a rollback, and you had done a rollback last year, and just wanted to bring it up to know if that was going to happen again. I know they said that you can't answer any of my questions, but again, my husband and I just wanted to voice our concerns to make sure that we're heard as taxpayers.
Thank you so much. Remember, of course, we cannot discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. We've also adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or the parents, and of course the general public as well. Copies of our district policies and procedures are on public comment, and filing complaints are available at www.fisd.us. So thank you. Any other public comments, Ms. Petrie?
No, sir.
Next on the agenda are reports and updates. Ms. Engel will start us off with the public hearing for the 2022-2023 budget.
You have a copy of the presentation. Like to make notes. Okay, thank you. It's a public hearing, so you're. Yeah, you want to. No, it's fine. Okay, good evening, Dr. Odom, members of the board, Dr. Gilstrap. Tonight we're going to hold our public hearing for the 2022-2023, or fiscal year 23 as it is referred to, public budget hearing. First of all, again, we keep our vision and our mission in mind, preparing you for a prosperous life. Mission statement, FISD is committed to developing 21st century graduates who are lifelong learners that are purposeful, innovative, collaborative, and possess character traits that lead to success. Also keeping in mind our goals that we already went over this evening. So the budget process. It starts as soon as the next year's budget starts as soon as we approve the current year's budget. We kind of start looking at things, looking at the different, our enrollment. But a big part of it is getting our preliminary values from the Wilson and Bexar County appraisals. We do have a very small part in Bexar County that is in Floresville ISD. So we get those around April 25th is when they should be certified, not certified to us, but provided to us, the preliminary values. We hold board workshops. We publish a public notice in the Wilson County News. We hold a public hearing, final budget approval, which will also happen this evening, and then approval of a tax rate for tax year 2022. Those are two different things. This is tax year 2022, but it's our fiscal year 23. Will happen on September 12th. And the reason for that is that we don't get certified values from those entities until the end of July 25th. We have to turn around and provide those certified values to the state, to TEA, and then TEA has until August 5th to return our maximum compressed tax rate. Our August meeting is August 1st, therefore we'll push it to the September meeting. We have to approve it by September 30th. This is the public notice that was in the paper. Looking at our tax rate history from tax year 19 through 21, you'll see that a decrease there over those 3 years of a little over 20 cents in 3 years. So over the last 3 years, our tax rate has decreased, total tax rate for the district, by a little over 20 cents. Factors influencing this year's budget, we're looking at an enrollment of 4,050. It's a little bit of growth from this past year. An ADA of 3675, that's maintaining a 92.5% attendance rate throughout the year. An effective average 4% pay raise for all returning employees. Other factors influencing it, current year property values, preliminary values are about $1.8 billion for the district. It's a 6.2 increase in values. Again, those come from our appraising districts, Bexar County Appraisal District and Wilson County Appraisal District. A tax collection rate of 98%. Looking at, again, preliminary compressed tax rate of 87.2 cents with an INS rate of 26.24. Now, more than likely when we get certified values, that INS rate will decrease based on our bond payments. But again, these are just preliminary based on what we have at this point. So what the board does approve and what we do look at for this evening is the general fund, which finances our general operations for the district, our food service fund, which is our child nutrition fund, and the debt service fund. We're going to look at revenues, appropriations, debt obligations, tax rate history, and we'll be proposing a balanced budget for this meeting. Looking at general fund revenue, we're looking at local revenue of just over $15 million, state revenue of about $20.5 million, and federal revenue of $540,000. There you can just see the pie chart there, breaking that out. Appropriations for instructional purposes, again, everything happening in our classrooms, teacher salaries, things like that, supplies, looking at just shy of $20 million. Instructional and student support, $4.8 million. Administrative support, $1.5 million. Operational and students and support services, for $8.6. Debt service, just shy of $500,000. And again, this is just in general fund. Other operating costs, $620,000 for a total budget there on the general fund of a little over $36 million. This is appropriations, looking at it by object code, which is the way that we run our budgets, is by breaking out by object codes. As you can see, the big portion of that, over 76%, is payroll for the district. The orange portion there is professional and contracted services, followed by supplies and materials, and then you see the smaller ones there for debt service, operating expenses, and capital improvement and outlay. Turning to our food service budget, we're looking at $370,000 in local revenue. Again, that's students and adults paying for meals. State revenue of $10,000 and federal revenue of a little over $2 million. So we did, as you remember, for the past 2 years, we've run this seamless summer option all year, which has fed all students for free. That is going away. That expires at the end of this week on June 30th. However, there was something passed by the I believe the Congress on Saturday, signed by President Biden at the federal level, yes, called Keep Kids Fed. So it is not proposing to feed everyone for free, but it is proposing to allow some waivers for disruption of supply chain, which is what we've had some in the past. I know some districts, not us, but I know there was a district that was buying produce from this one supply house, and they just gave them 2 weeks notice, said, we can't supply it anymore. So things like that, they're allowing some waivers for that. Reimbursement rates, they're increasing reimbursement rates for meals, but again, it does not, at this time, have free meals for everybody. But again, that could change next week. We don't know. So if you look at the appropriations for food service, $2.4 million, operations and support services, you will see a small amount there for debt service. And what that is GASB 87, and I forgot to mention it when we were on the general fund budget. GASB 87, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board, has, in their pronouncement number 87, has changed the way we account for leases. This is just a very small lease we have for printers, but they're making us record it on our books now as debt. So they're making you record any kind of leases that you have as a principal and an interest payment, even though they may not have an interest, it may not have a set interest rate. We're using an imputed rate from our maintenance notes, because that's the closest to what these terms of these rates. So it's about 2.5%. Again, all it's doing is taking it from, normally we record those expenses in the general budget under an instructional function of 11. Now they're wanting us to put it on its books as a debt service. That's all it's doing. Turning to our debt service fund, here our debt service obligation for this school year is going to be just shy of $4.5 million. You can see the series of bonds we have still outstanding, broken down between principal and interest for this year, just shy of $2 million in principal, about $2.5 million in interest, for a total of $4.4 million in bond payments that will be due this year, and that is from that INS tax rate. Looking at a 10-year tax rate history, you can see that over the last 10 years, we have decreased our tax rate by a little over 38 cents. So going in the right direction. Again, next year's a legislative year. We'll see what if the legislature continues with their maximum compressed tax rate or what they do on that side. Looking at debt service, again, mostly that is all local revenue. The state does come in and give us a little bit, about $140,000, but the majority of that debt service, again, is it is all bonds, and that is funded by the INS tax rate. Again, it's all in the debt service function. So looking at a combined funds that the board does approve, that the FISD board does approve, we're looking at local revenue of just shy of $20 million, state revenue of $20.6 million, and federal revenue, mostly on the food service, of $2.5 million. So a total budget of those three funds of a little over $43 million. Again, here's just a breakout of how it breaks down: instruction, instructional support, and student support, administration, operations and support services, debt service, other operating costs, and for a total budget, again, of the $43 million, which matches the revenue. Looking at 2022, 2023, and beyond, still potential enrollment growth. I know there are a bunch of subdivisions popping up. We'll see what kind of enrollment we get from those. Property values continue to grow. 88th legislative session convenes on January 10th, runs through May 29th of next year. Again, that'll be a big influence. We'll see what happens. Safety and security comes out of that. Do they increase the basic allotment? Do they change it from ADA to enrollment? I mean, there's a bunch of questions out there, a bunch of things that people are talking about. So again, you can see that goes till May 29th. We have to adopt a budget by June 30th. So very tight time here. And the ESSER funding, the elementary and secondary school emergency relief funding that we've received as a result of COVID, that does end in the next couple of years. So again, trying to work that back into our regular operating budget in due time.
So I will say that the 88th legislative session, school finance is probably going to be a topic of discussion. And obviously with security being a concern, but also with property values and compressed tax rates. And there's a lot of questions that are still out there and how they're going to fund, not just public education, but across the state, how they're do their budgets. And so it'll be interesting to see some of the bills that are written on the 88th legislature, and then it'll be interesting to see what passes in the law that potentially could affect us and how we are funded, and then how we have to build our budget. So we will be on a tight time frame because some of those laws that they pass on May the 29th will become effective immediately or June 1st. And with us having a July 1 fiscal year, it really puts us under the crunch. And then some of the things they pass won't go into effect till the next year, so that'll give us some
And
time.
you also have the option of a special session.
Yeah, and you still have
So
special session
that
after
could go into, September, August, when we're already operating our new budget.
As you know from this current year budget, the state has made some adjustments to funding formulas and things like that that's led to some changes in how we've had to operate for this year. So just want to throw that out there. It's going to be a big legislative session for schools, and school districts, and how they fund it.
So looking at an upcoming timeline, July 25th is when our local or our CADs will provide our certified values to us. Again, we'll turn around, provide those to the state, to TEA, and they will provide our maximum compressed tax rate, or MCR, by August the 5th, and we will hold a tax rate hearing and adoption of the tax rate at our September 12th board. Thank you for everyone for coming, interested. This is a public hearing, so it is open to questions from the floor as well as the board members. Questions?
Any questions?
Just one little one.
Yes, ma'am.
I was looking over at stipends, and one of them, my baby was the drama, and have they always had assistants now? Or they just put it in that you would get the assistant would get a stipend?
It's been a standing stipend, the drama teacher and then the assistant. So that's not
They had
new.
assistants, didn't know if the assistant went away, will we get that money back, or what would you recommend?
Well, actually, that assistant position has not been filled. Nobody has wanted to assist the drama teacher.
There's a lot of work.
So it was just the one drama teacher that was receiving the head, but that assistant stipend has been there.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's cool. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Lindsay, what happens to the 2 million that's set aside for, the meals if,
Well, that's just, so on the food service fund, we contract with Sodexo. So they only charge us for the meals we serve. So the meals they serve are the meals we ask for reimbursement for. So it's kind of that fund, we're not putting that, well, we are, but we only get as much as we serve. So it's kind of
It's an in and out.
it's an in and out fund.
So we're guaranteed a reimbursement back from the federal.
Right, from the, and so they're increasing, and that's one thing this, Keep Kids Fed, there you go. This act that came, they're increasing the reimbursement rates. So where,
So as a result of that, we're actually going to probably see some increased revenue, but we're also going to see some increased.
yeah, because we're not gonna pay it out, because the kids will eat. And again, I mean, we had higher numbers eating this year because everybody eats for free. But, and so next year, we still get reimbursement on the kids that are paying for lunches. However, we'll see where that, yeah.
We are guaranteed per the contract, a set dollar amount that we will make to add to our revenue or our budget. Don't know that exact dollar amount off the top of my head of what's in our contract, but for the most part, that is in and out.
Yeah, that fund, it goes in and out. It's not like if the money's there, we're not guaranteed to spend that $2 million. If we're feeding less, then we'll get reimbursed less, so that number will go down.
So based upon a supply chain, if the price of certain commodities went up, we paid more, we'll get reimbursed more.
Right.
Because
Right, and that's
what
one
we
reason
pay is
that-
set by the federal government.
Right, and that's one thing that they did in this
Okay.
Keep Kids Fed Act was allow for waivers for meal pattern feeding, because that's one thing, like I said, that they said, I was reading an article that said, they ordered broccoli and they got donuts. Facetiously, but you could order one thing that's supposed to be healthy and, in the meal pattern, but you may not get it because the suppliers may not be able to supply it.
There are requirements in the USDA for the patterns which you have to feed meals. And so you can't serve the same thing 2 days in a row. Whereas you're in the food chain issues, and okay, I gotta serve the same thing 2 days in a row. So that's the kind of food chain.
Or paper
issues.
goods, they ran out of the small ones, so you have to use the big one, so it looked like you're getting less, but you're really getting the same, I know I've seen it at Bill Miller's, where they had, so things like that allow for waivers.
Well, any further questions? All right.
Thank you, Ms. Single.
So Dr. Gilstrap will present the superintendent's report.
Board members, work continues regarding security measures at all campuses. All exterior doors have been checked to ensure that they are working and operational properly, we are prioritizing those for repair if needed. We're also conducting our daily routine checks for exterior doors. Again, we started that process and we are continuing that through summer school. Attention is now shifting to the interior doors, which in talking to our principals, interior door review should be complete by the end of this month or the end of this week. Other measures, as discussed in previous executive sessions, are underway. We are receiving bids on some projects, and though you will soon see in the month of July those projects coming to fruition as we prepare for next school year. This week, we will host our safety security meeting on Wednesday night, and it'll be here in the district. It'll include district, city, and county personnel that will be first responders. These are key participants should we ever have an incident on campus that requires a response from them. The committee also includes teachers, administrators from every campus, parents from across the district, so we are required to have certain participants and we are meeting those requirements. The focus of this meeting is to review the purpose of the committee and the requirements to participate. They will review current security practices that are in place and make recommendations as needed to the administration and to the board moving forward. So that group can come to the board and make recommendations to anything that they feel like they need to. They'll also be reviewing any security audits that we do, and as we prepare to submit those to the state, they will review those in detail prior to us reporting back to the board or submitting that to the state. The agenda for that meeting is currently posted as required. It's posted on our district website and out front as required by the law. Board members, you'll soon have a new school safety training that you'll have to complete. It is a 2-hour training. This was actually passed in the last legislative session. However, in April, TEA finally released the training, and then obviously Uvalde happened and that tragedy, and so obviously there is an increased scrutiny on that and importance on that. However, these measures were actually in place prior to that. So we are rolling that out, and that 2-hour training will be available through TEA. Alyssa will be sending you that information shortly, so make sure you log in there and do that. Also, in your packet, we've included your current standing for professional development hours, and so you can use that for your review. New student enrollment is currently open through Skyward or by visiting any district, the district website or any campus. Returning student registration will open on July the 11th. Registration and enrollment can be done quickly and easily. Registration for those returning, that can be done through Skyward and potentially even through your phone. We're trying to make sure that works, but we want to make sure it's done quickly as possible. By completing this registration process in July before we get back in August, that'll enable us to make teacher assignments, make adjustments to master schedules accordingly. We just want to try to be ahead of the game. We want to try to know how many kids we have coming so we can make proper arrangements to get the school year started. It also allows for transportation to prepare routes. So that's the other thing is we will have a date in early August that'll be a deadline. If you're wanting to ride a bus the first days of school, you'll need to let us know by a certain date because it's always difficult on that first day. One of the things that we stress about is making sure kids get in the right spot, whether it's with a parent on the bus, the right bus, getting off at the right stop. And so it takes a little time on those days, and we want to try to, if we're able to have those things ahead of time, we can try to take some steps to get things done ahead of time. We've scheduled a board admin retreat for Wednesday, July the 27th at 6 o'clock. Mr. Shadrach has graciously offered his home to host the event, and this will be an opportunity for board members as well as campus and district level administrators. We're also going to allow one guest. We'll be there for a time of fellowship and team building. We will provide a meal and have some relaxing activities. I don't think it's anything too strenuous, no ropes course or anything like that. Just
Not yet, sir.
We're working on it. So please complete the RSVP that has been sent out by Alyssa so that we can get a good, accurate head count for our meals. We're looking forward to just relaxing and socializing as a team prior to getting the school year started. So mark your calendars, Wednesday, July the 27th at 6 o'clock. Just a reminder, we will not have a regular July board meeting. We are having this evening's special meeting. Also, just a kind of a brief announcement about future agenda items. August is going to be an action-packed month for the board meeting. That's going to be on August the 1st. We will have that update on security prior to school starting. We're also going to have our employee and student handbooks for review. We are looking at calendars for elections, and we are going to have to call that election in August. We'll have our student code of conduct up for consideration as well as a Head Start agreement. And then in September, we'll be considering our tax rate as Ms. Engel got through going over those dates as well. So we've got a lot of information coming up in August and September for the board to consider. As always, I encourage you to forward me any questions, thoughts, concerns that you have, and also don't hesitate to let me know if you need to meet face-to-face. Be glad to do that as well.
All right. Do you want to share anything about the contract employment?
Yes, the contract employment list, resignation and contracts offered list has been provided for your review as well. One of the questions that did come up was the number of resignations, the number of employees coming in. I know we have some new board members. I will say that this is a little bit more lengthy than what we've had in the past. However, that is not common, or not uncommon across the state because of the current situation we're in. There's a lot of movement. It seems like for the past 2 years with COVID, there wasn't a lot of movement. People were pretty much staying put. Well, now people are starting to leave the profession. They're starting to look for other opportunities and jobs. So there's a lot of jobs open out there, and we're losing some great people to some great jobs. We've got great people, and that's what's going to happen wherever they go. We want to do everything we can to keep them. In our meeting today, I believe Ms. Stonish was 30
It was 39 at the meeting, but I think it's 41 now.
41 now. That's positions that we have filled thus far. In a typical year, we usually have about 35. So we've exceeded, and we still got a month to go. We still got the month of July. And so we do have some more open positions that we're trying to fill, but we are a little bit above what we've been in the past. But that is not uncommon across the state.
Thank you, Dr. Gilstrap. Dr. Wade, will you kindly give an update on the district improvement plan formative review?
Yes, sir. Just a little bit so I don't hurt myself. I don't know, someplace. All right, Dr. Rolo, good evening, Dr. Gilstrap and board. Tonight I'm going to provide a short summary of the summative review of our district improvement plan for 2021-22. The district has 5 goals which drive our district improvement plan, and those were approved by this school board in August. Each quarter, I have provided you a quick formative review of the progress in accomplishing those goals and our objectives and strategies. The district and campus leadership team evaluated our progress in June and also completed a summative review, which is what I'm going to share with you. In your board packet, you have the detailed summative review if you would like to look at all of these details. So for 21-22, FISD had a total of those 5 goals and 17 performance objectives. So those performance objectives are evaluated at the end of June, or in June. We evaluate them in 4 areas. Have we exceeded progress, met progress, made significant progress, or some progress, or no progress? I'm sorry, there's 5 areas. So of the 17 performance objectives, we met 47% of them, or 8. 24% was significant progress, or 4 of them, and 29% had some progress. When we get down to the strategies, I do want to make a statement that our district improvement plan is not a static document. That is something we put a plan in place, and so as the environment changes or we have to respond to things in the environment or legislation, then we make adjustments to that. The board goals and the performance objectives do not change, but the strategies may change. So you may see some adjustments where we discontinued something or we're going to continue. So that's why, because it's not a static document. So in the final quarter, the strategies are evaluated, whether we accomplish them, whether we're going to continue those particular strategies and modify them in the coming year, or we're going to discontinue. So of the 58 strategies, we accomplished 71% of them, or 41. 21%, or 12, will be continued and modified, and 5, or 9%, will be discontinued. I do want to point out that 71% last year at this time was 59%. So we've accomplished more percent-wise than we did last year. We would anticipate that because we didn't have as big of an impact of COVID, even though we did have quite a big impact, especially in the fall. So I'm just going to provide you a quick snippet for each goal. So goal 1, each student will maximize their potential. Some highlights for this goal is the Capturing Kids' Hearts training that we had completed for both elementary and middle school, resulting in North Elementary being named as a national showcase school for Capturing Kids' Hearts. And we are going to, even though it says we completed, we're going to keep going with Capturing Kids' Hearts next year. You'll see that in August. For the high school, we have restorative practices training and coaching for the teachers there. We've added student clubs across campuses. We've continued our 7 Mindset social emotional learning curriculum at campuses. Legislative response, House Bill 4545 tutoring, we were able to accomplish that in the school day, where we thought we were going to have to do that after school on Saturdays, but our principals were very strategic and creative and made that happen during the school day. We had an enhanced summer program, especially for elementary, that just finished. I know they did some floral arranging and some other fun things to break up that math and reading time to improve our attendance. We screened all of our kindergartners for GT, and we had a review of our dual language program. I did want to, okay, I press. Okay. Sorry. I don't know where it's, can you hit there? Oh, I'm on the clicker, that's why. Okay. There you go. Okay. Get that. Sorry about that. That means my binder's too heavy. All right, so I did want to state the discontinued strategy that you'll see up there is related to developing a mentoring program. So in evaluating our goals and strategies, we're shifting our focus next year to some structured supports. So that's actually been on our list of something to work on, but we're going to implement supports for all students as opposed to just a mentoring program. So goal 2 is each student will be a lifelong learner prepared for their future. Some highlights for this particular goal is collaborative furniture was purchased at all campus libraries. So take a visit to one of the libraries and take a look at some of the furniture that's been in place. Our reading academies, I can say all the teachers that were enrolled this year we had completed the reading academies. We had 100% completion last year, so super excited about that. We have continued our emphasis with writing across the curriculum and provided some additional training and coaching. That's at middle school and high school. Blended learning implementation has been huge in grades 1, 6, 7, and 9 for our Raise Your Hand Texas grant, but we also have grades 3rd and 4th also implementing. We purchased a lot of bilingual and dual language resources this year to support our teachers. I will tell you, Genevieve Rodriguez, I don't know if any of you know her at North, we keep talking about resources. She said, I know there's nothing else out there. We've purchased almost everything that exists. So trying to make sure they have enough resources. We have drafted an innovative learning model that we will be doing a soft launch this next year. We have launched a badging program for digital professional learning that's by choice for teachers if they want to participate. We have been able to maintain our one-to-one devices for students within our current budget. And we are providing professional learning communities training and support. And in fact, tomorrow, 48 staff members are attending Professional Learning Communities Conference in San Antonio. Goal 3 is each student will be a contributing member of the Global Society. Some highlights for this particular strategy are about strengths lessening and capturing kids' hearts and 7 mindsets and community service events. I will point out that most of the objectives for this goal are about opportunities for students to discover their passion and purpose. That was part of our strategic plan, and the focus was on strengths and service learning. We plan to develop strengths lessons, and in fact, we do have some already developed. But campus administrators are telling us that there are strengths lessons embedded within that 7 mindsets, social emotional curriculum, as well as in capturing kids' hearts. So we don't want to be redundant. So that we're thinking about that being phased out or reimagined for next school year. And then with the restrictions placed on us in fall with COVID, those service learning opportunities were limited, and we really did more community service. So again, that's a strategy that we're going to revamp for this next school year. Goal 4 is FISD will strive to build strong relationships with stakeholders. Some highlights for this particular goal are our employee retention rate was at or above the state average. I don't know what's going to happen after this year, but we did accomplish that. We've had a review of insurance coverage and made some options available for our employees. We adjusted our stipends, especially for some hard-to-fill areas like bilingual. And we have provided a lot of input opportunities for our stakeholders, including the TASB Employee Opinion Survey, a Community Engagement Survey, and Strategic Planning Focus Groups. And then the last goal 5, FISD will exercise fiscal responsibility. And some of the highlights, we had an unqualified opinion financial audit, thanks to our awesome business department. We've had a lot of grants submitted, not the least of which is ESSER. And then the emergency operations plan was updated with a threat assessment plan. So the next steps is to do this all over again. So the district in January and March met with our district and campus leaders and conducted a comprehensive needs assessment. We've developed a draft district improvement plan, and then that was reviewed by our district education committee in May. And then this month and next month, I've already got it on the agenda for the next meeting, we're going to review our draft district improvement plan for 22-23, which I will be bringing to the board on August the 1st for you to consider for approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for the great job you always do.
And getting better, right? It's getting less and less.
This is a very detailed, required process, but it's a good process for us to go through. And sometimes I think Dr. Wade has to drag me kicking and screaming along the way with all the details, but it can bog you down. And I want to make sure it doesn't bog us down to what we are implementing. Yes, there's time to develop the plans, but there's implementation of the plans. And so, Dr. Wade, thank you very much for you and your team for making sure we're developing those plans and getting things documented and then implementing those plans as well. So thank you.
The district renovation will cause the plan to look different next year with maybe not as many objectives and strategies.
Thank you, Dr. Wade.
Thank you.
The next item is item number 5 on our agenda, action items. The first action item is to consider approval of the final budget amendment for 2021-2022 school year.
Good evening once again. What you have before you right now is 2 budget amendments actually. One is for Fund 199, which is our general revenue or general fund. The second one is for Fund 240, which is our child nutrition or food service fund. What these 2 budget amendments do is if you look at the first one, we're looking at that first line, it's current year taxes. Our current year taxes for collections for this year were about $1 million higher than what we budgeted for. We budgeted for a very low, not very low for what we're used to on collections, just given the situation, given the economic circumstances of that. But our tax collection people are doing awesome. Our tax attorneys, Linebarger, are doing a great job of making sure that we are collecting our taxes, and we're actually collecting at a 99% rate. So that's an increase there to revenue of $1 million. The second line is $300,000 decrease in our foundation school plan, which is our state monies. Again, that's due to a lower ADA than what we had budgeted for. It would be lower if the state wouldn't have stepped in and made that adjustment to ADA. So that's why it's only $300,000. But, you know, it could have been a lot more significant if the state wouldn't have stepped in and made that adjustment to the first 4-6 weeks of ADA. The next line items you're looking at there, you're looking at, and again, you approve the budget by function level, so that's that, after the E, that's that second set of numbers there, those are the functions levels that you approve at. So that first one is going to be an increase of $315,000 to our function 11, which is instruction. Again, that's the pay raise that you guys voted on or beginning of this month, or not pay raise, I'm sorry, the retention and appreciation stipend. Look at 23 there, that's school leadership, which would be your principals, assistant principals, secretaries. We did bring on Dr. Farnsworth, still paying Mrs. Gonzalez. So we had an increase there. Function 21 is going to be our leadership, school leadership, just a very small there for those retention and appreciation stipends. Function 35, that's food service. We did pay our food service people that we gave them a retention and appreciation stipend as well as we had a procurement audit back in it was about in the middle of summer. We got the results in August. There was a few things that they made us pay for out of our local budget as opposed to food service budget due to procurement issues. So that's where that 65 is coming from, a combination of those 2 things. Function 51, which is going to be our facilities, increasing of $150,000. That was a few extra, the appreciation and retention stipend, as well as some projects, the road at North that we redid, some projects around the district that we had the funds for to be able to do out of this year, painting, things like that. 52 is going to be our police and our monitoring, security and monitoring. We had a 25% or $25,000 increase there. Again, just with the appreciation stipends and just some extra little things we had there to pay them. 53 is going to be our technology. We budgeted for a position short in that, and that was that was my bad last year. Whenever we added a person and I didn't realize it when we budgeted. So we did increase that there. And then the 71, that's those leases that I was talking to you about earlier, where we had to move them out of other functions into function 71 to account for the principal and interest payments. They're making us put it on our budget as of this current fiscal year, for those. If you skip down the line, the next ones there, these are just a shift from function 13, which is our instructional teacher development, that we moved a lot of those expenditures into ESTRA this past year, and moving them into function 34, which is transportation. See an increase in fuel there for the end of the school year when gas prices, diesel prices jumped, as well as the bus purchase. If you'll remember, we put that money into fund balance because we thought we weren't going to get those buses until November, and they came last week. So we had to pay for those.
They came in on Thursday and they looked good.
Yes. So that is that budget amendment. If you turn, anybody have a question on that one? If not, if you turn to the second page, again, this is food service, and again, this kind of goes to your question, Mrs. Martinez, on we budgeted lower than what we actually brought in this year for food service, and a lot of it, we got higher. Those first two lines are revenue increases of $25,000 on the breakfast program, $250,000 on the lunch program. Again, everybody ate free, so we were serving a lot more meals, so that's where we're getting those in. And on the flip side, you're going to increase the function 35, which is our contracted services, which will pay us at EXO. And again, those leases for the $2,600. So.
Now, we do maintain a fund balance, which you'll see in our audit for food service. But yes, you can see there that while we did pull in more revenue for food service, we expensed the same amount.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, are there any questions?
Again, the budget amendment is needed just to clean up at the end of the year before we go into our audit. So this budget will be audited in the fall.
Late August, yes. Those should be out here in August. You guys will be getting your letter from the auditors, just that you all standard get. It should be coming out next week, so just make sure you fill those out for the auditors. But yeah, late August is when they're scheduled to be here, and they'll present, usually in October. Yeah. So if there are no questions, and administration recommends the board approve the FISD 2021-2022 final budget amendments as presented.
Do we have a motion to approve it?
I make a motion to approve the administration's recommendation.
I second.
Martinez makes the motion, and Ms. Reed makes the seconds. Any further questions or discussions? Okay, all in favor, let it be known by raising your hand. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, and Ms. Engel will also, the next action item is to consider approval of the 2022-2023 budget and compensation plan.
Okay, I've printed these on really big paper because they're about numbers. And I had heck printing them. Luckily, Melissa came to my rescue and helped me print them. So.
My eyes appreciate this.
Yes.
Okay, so if you look, this is kind of what you received 2 weeks ago at the budget workshop that we held. There are a few minor changes. Again, mostly that debt service. If you look, the first column, function 199, that's actually increasing by $67,000 before it was only, I think it was decreasing by about $2,000 because of those tax note payments. But again, we have to move those lease payments into debt service. We have our current leases. We also are bringing on that new portable building at South, which has to be accounted for in this way as well. The existing one, the lease is expiring on that. We're going to continue to rent it month to month. So that one is not a long-term, is not a lease that has to be reported this way. It can be reported just as a regular expense. So that, the existing one's going to be in function 51. Other increases. I know Ms. Berlanga is not here, but I know she did have a question on revenue on 599 about, at the budget workshop, I didn't have anything in there for state because the template was still being worked on. I did run the new template, and they are showing about the same, about $140,000 from the state for that. But other than that, it's about the same as what you guys saw the other evening.
So board members did have a couple of questions that did come up. One is in regard to safety security purposes. We did allocate some additional funds. However, it's primarily geared towards personnel because we are looking at adding one particular position there. But the other expenses regarding the changes we're making, we're looking at taking those out of ESSER, so they would not be reflected in this budget. There are other monies that we do allocate for routine changes to facilities, maintenance, and some of those things. So some of that may be shifted over to safety security. But coming into the year for this budget, the only increase to safety security would be for that. However, again, those ESSER funds are there, and that's what we're gearing those for. The other one is just other future moves, potential moves around the district with facilities, and we are allocating those under contracted services. However, if we do shift that and do that in-house, we can always move those funds over. So we do have some allocations for that as well.
Yeah, because they're all accounted for under that function 51. That's how you guys approve it. So whether it's contracted service or we pay our people to do it, that's all under that same function. And again, you are approving those three funds. Those are the three funds. We do have all the federal funds, but those are under the federal umbrella. So you approve these three funds at the function level, which are those numbers down the left-hand side of the page. So are there any questions?
Ms. Stonish, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
anything to add about the
Compensation plan.
compensation plan? I know we covered it in our workshop.
Were there any questions about the compensation plan as y'all had some time to think about it? As Dr. Gilstrap pointed out, it is a 4% realized increase because it will be a 3% increase from the midpoint of their salary. And then we, with the addition of the retention stipend, which is the amount of $600 to be received on their September 20th check. So the raises actualized comes out to 4.5%, all the way up to about 6% on our auxiliary side. Were there any questions about the compensation plan as presented in that board budget workshop?
Just keep in mind that 3% is local, that retention stipend is ESSER funds. So you'll see the 3% is built into this budget, but that extra is not ESSER.
When employees take leave, when they have a state and local days, does it matter which ones they're using first?
Well, we always try to encourage you to use your local days first because they don't, if you left Floresville ISD, they do not transfer. So, we always say try to
use the local days before this.
Oh yes, you can use them in which order, whichever order that you prefer. Actually, when you go into our system to choose your day that you want to take, is a drop-down menu, and you pick which type of day that you want.
Any further questions?
If there are no further questions, administration recommends the board approve the FISD 2022-2023 budget and the 2022-2023 compensation plan as presented.
Could we have a motion to
I'll make a motion to accept the budget.
Shadrot? Mr. Clear seconds it. All right, any further questions? All in favor, let me know by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I will say thank you very much, Ms. Engel, for your hard work in preparing a balanced budget. To Ms. Stonish for all your hard work in getting the compensation plan together. That's very tedious, time-consuming. And obviously with the influx with ESSER funds, and we've been able to work with those. And so thanks to Dr. Wade and her department for their hard work to allocate those ESSER funds where we need those to meet our needs. And so kudos to all three of you and your departments. Thank you.
That's the hardest thing to explain to some people. ESSER funds.
School finance and ESSER funds.
And I went, well, it was because of the COVID. Got it?
Okay, at this time, the board will now convene in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.076 and 551.089, deliberation regarding security devices or security audits at 7:25.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.